Okay, today we're doing Module 4, Lesson 24, and you can see that your learning goal says, I can solve word problems using fraction and decimal multiplication. What this learning goal can tell you is that we're not learning any new skills today or any new facts. We're just going to take what we already know and apply them to a word problem context. Yesterday, we remembered that in order to change fractions into decimals, we first need to write equivalent fractions where the denominator is
A power of 10.
a power of 10. Very good. Let's practice that here. A community bike ride offers a short 5.7-mile ride for children and families. You might think, what, 5.7 miles? That's not short. But when you're riding on a bike, that is pretty short, okay? Then the short ride is followed by a long ride, which is 5 2/3 times as long as the short ride for adults. If a woman bikes the short ride with her children and then the long ride with her friends, how many miles does she ride all together? Remember that when we solve word problems, we always use the RDW method. What does the R stand for? Read. What does the D stand for?
Draw.
What does the W stand for?
Write.
Okay, so let's start by reading and understanding the problem. Go ahead and jot down what the question's asking and the important information. The question's asking us to figure out how many miles this woman is riding all together. Tell me, what important information do we need in order to figure that out?
The short ride is 5.7 miles.
So she first rides the short ride, which is 5.7 miles, and then?
And the longer ride
Uh-huh.
5 2/3 times as long as the short.
Very good. Then she does the long ride, which is 5 2/3 times as long as the short ride. Can I tell you a fabulous fail people might make? They might think that the long ride is 5 2/3 miles long. Because they might say, oh, I see those numbers, that's what it means. But is that the case?
No.
It's 5 2/3 times as long as the short ride.
And then she rides both.
Yeah, she writes both. Very good. Okay, we've done the R part. What does D stand for?
Draw.
Draw. Let's draw a picture. She first rides the short ride. How many miles should I label for the short ride? 5.7. Then she does the long ride. And the long ride is 5 2/3 times as long as the short ride. Well, how long is the short ride? 5.7. So the long ride is 5 2/3 times 5.7. Do you agree? Then we have to show with the question mark that we're trying to find the total distance of these two rides. If we know that the long ride is 5 2/3 times the short ride, which is 5.7, have we ever had any cases where we multiplied a decimal by a fraction?
Yeah.
We could, but what could we do instead? Can we change both of them to fractions?
Yeah.
Okay, the first one's already a fraction, 5 2/3. And then the second one is 5 7/10. How can I write that as a fraction? Well, 5 7/10. But what did we learn about multiplying mixed numbers? Is it easy to make mistakes? Yes. So what should we do? Change them to improper fractions. How many holes are in one? How many thirds are in one hole? 3. So how many holes are in 5 holes? So this 5 holes is the same as 15 thirds. Do you agree? And then I have 2/3 as the fraction part. That's over there. How many tenths are in 5 holes? 50, right? So I have 50 tenths and then 7 more tenths. So what are my fractions all together? I have 17 thirds times 57 tenths. Okay. Are there any common factors that I can use to simplify first? Well, I know that 57 is divisible by 3. 57 is the same as 3 times what?
19.
3 times 19. So I have 17 times 19 times 3 all over 3 times 10. Then I can see that my 3's are common factors. So in the top, I have 17 times 19. I'm going to run out of room here. Over 10. When I finish this, I get 32.3 miles. But that's not my final answer because I need to go back and see what the question's asking. What is the question asking? How many miles did she ride altogether? What did I just calculate? This is the long ride. Long ride. So I have to add the long ride to the short ride. So I have to do 32.3 plus the distance of the short ride. How short was the short ride? 5.7. So I have to do 32.3 plus 5.7. How many tenths do I have altogether? 10. So I'll record the 0 and I'll regroup the 1 to become 1, 1. How many 1s do I have?
8.
How many 10s do I have? So how many miles did she ride altogether? 38 miles.